everyone, Kelly here, and today I wanted to share with you some of my most recent reads. All four of the books I'm going to talk about today I listened to on audiobook, seems to be my theme lately, and also they are all Pride books that I had started in June as part of Pride Month, and I had meant to read all of them in June during Pride Month. That didn't happen, so it spilled into July, which is great because, you can read LGBT books any time of the year. So I just wanted to group them together just in case you wanted some recommendations. These actually, I wanted to do a more broad, I wanted to read something from like lots of different perspectives. But I am in the middle of reading a book that is by a trans author and I haven't finished it yet, so that'll come up soon. And I also have a book with an asexual main character that will be coming soon. So there will be more queer books coming up in later recent reads. So I'm just going to share four with you today that I have finished. And I'm going to talk about them in the order of the way I like them, from the least to the best. For the most part, I like them except for this first one. I didn't love it. So the first book is What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Silvera. So this book is from the perspective of two guys, Arthur and Ben, and in the narration there's actually two narrators that narrate each of the different parts. And Arthur is in New York for the summer doing an internship, and then Ben is living in New York, and they have a chance meeting at the post office, and they're kind of flirting, everything is going great, but they don't exchange any information with each other, and so then later they're trying to find each other. So this book, part of it is kind of like just about, when you meet somebody and that feeling when you first meet them, and then part of it is like, how do you find that person again? When you've had that meeting, you have that spark, how do you find them again? And then it goes into actually like relationship and all that. And I didn't dislike this book, but I didn't love it. I gave it 3 stars. It's fine, it's in the middle. But I just didn't really love either perspective. Like, it's really funny. They had 2 narrators, and yet half the time I couldn't remember whose perspective we were hearing from. And it's not like their voices were so similar. It's just that they didn't really have a distinct voice, which is also weird because they're written by 2 different authors. But I just kept confusing who I was hearing from, and I just kind of found it just a little boring, I guess, and a little overly gushy, maybe. I mean, because I like cheesy books, but a lot of times the situations that they were in the relationship or in the search for each other felt like over dramatic and then like overly easy to solve, you know what I mean? So it just, I don't know. There wasn't a lot of other plot happening, and usually when I want to read romance, I want to have a little more plot to it other than just will they, won't they kind of thing. But I did appreciate the ending. Actually, a lot of people say they don't like the ending. I actually liked it. So it's an okay book. I wouldn't say don't read it, but it wasn't necessarily my favorite. The next one that I read was Her Royal Highness by Hawkins. And this is the sequel or companion novel to Royals, which I had listened to a few weeks ago and gave 5 stars. Thought it was super cute, loved it. This one I also thought was cute. I didn't love it as much, so I gave it 4 stars. So this book is about the Princess of Scotland, Flora. She has a small part in the first book, since the first book involves the Prince of Scotland. And so we're following Flora. She's going to a boarding school that used to be an all-guys school, and they're letting in girls for the first time this year, so Flora is going to this boarding school. The perspective we are following is a girl from Texas. I completely have blanked on her name, but there is a girl from Texas who gets to go to this school in Scotland. She wants to study there because she's into geology, and I guess there's a lot of it in this. The program at the school is great, so she gets a scholarship to go, and they end up being roommates, and it's kind of a hate-to-love relationship. So she thinks the princess is a big snob. The princess just doesn't really care about her at first, and so they just don't like each other, and then their friendship develops throughout the book. I thought the relationship in this book was really cute. I liked their interactions, all that, but I just felt like the plot wasn't really much other than the relationship. And like I said in the last one, I like to have a little more of a plot. I thought in the first book, Royals, there was more of a plot because there was more going on with family and all that kept me interested. So there was more outside of just a hate to love relationship for me to focus on. So this one was cute. If you just want a cute, fluffy romance without really much of anything else, great. This is a fun read. I would recommend it. I'm just saying that there wasn't like a lot besides the romance. The next book I read was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Jenkins Reid. This book like blew up on BookTube last year. Like everybody was talking about, people were giving it 5 stars left and right. Everybody was loving it. I gave it 4 stars. So I did enjoy it, but I didn't like necessarily love it as in like it's my favorite book ever. But I did find it very entertaining. The audiobook was also really entertaining. I enjoyed listening to it, and it was addictive enough that I read it really quickly, even though it's a thick book. I think I listened to it in 2 days because I was like, oh, I want to know what, I want to keep hearing about Evelyn's life. And I'm sure you've heard about this before. It's about Evelyn Hugo, who was a big movie star, and now she's older and has decided to tell her life story to Monique, who is a reporter. And the reason I didn't give this 5 stars is kind of the same reason I think with Daisy Jones and the Six. I loved both of them. I thought they were really entertaining, but they weren't quite 5 stars to me because I felt this disconnect from the characters, and I think it's because of the interview format. Like Daisy Jones and the Six is written out in a completely interview format with like the person and what they say and all that. This one's not written like that I know of. I haven't seen the physical, but it doesn't sound like that. But it is her relaying her life to a reporter. So, you know, it's kind of like in past tense and let me just tell you what happened and all that. So I did feel like a little disconnect, but I did find it very entertaining, and just like the stuff that she went through just to be with the person she loved and all that was really touching. There was a lot of moments that like really affected me personally and all that. So I did connect to her, which seems weird because she's like a movie actress, but I did connect to her character and did get a lot out of the story. It just wasn't quite the 5 star that a lot of people said, but I would still recommend it if you are somebody that has been holding off because of all the hype. I do think it's an entertaining read, especially to listen to. I think the other problem I have with these 2 books, the reason I didn't give either of them 5 stars, other than the disconnect, was that both of them have kind of like a trick ending. I wouldn't want to tell you what it is, obviously, but they both have like something that like gets revealed at the end. And in both cases, I felt like it was really more like a gimmick than felt like it was natural in the story. And so both times I was like, yeah, I don't really enjoy that reveal and the way it was put in the book. So that's the other reason why neither of those reached 5 stars. The like, I don't know if Jenkins Reid does that with her older books, or if it's just like now she feels like she needs to have this like hook at the end to like, whoa, this is something else at the end. I don't like it, so I'll try some of her older stuff and see if that's gonna be like a habit, or if maybe her other stuff just felt like a little more natural in its flow. And then the last book that I'm going to talk about in this one is Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World by Ashley Herring Blake. This is a middle grade novel, and I adored this book. 5 stars. It was just great because it had so many components to it. Like I said before about like, I don't want a book to be just about the romance. This one is definitely not. There's so much more. It's about a girl, Ivy. At the very beginning of the book, her family is running into their storm cellar because a hurricane is coming at their house, and so we have that throughout the book of her and her family dealing with losing most of their possessions and all that. So you get that real feeling of like what it's like to start over from nothing when a natural disaster has happened. You also have learned so much about Ivy as a character. Like I felt like she was really fleshed out. We learn all about her hobby, which is drawing, and she talks about it with such passion and detail that I just love that aspect of it. You hear a lot of the stuff that she's dealing with at school. She's having like issues with friendships, and she's having this whole like discovery. I think she's around like 12 years old maybe, and she is deciding like how she feels about other people and like whether she likes boys or girls and all that. And so just kind of like that self-discovery of relationships and romantic interests and all that stuff. And I just found it really wonderful, like everything about it. Ashley Herring Blake has another middle grade LGBT book that I am reading this week for Middle Grade Magic. I haven't started it yet, but I am really excited because I think that's just the way she creates her stories, creating both like the storyline of like developing feelings in that preteen, but also like so much family and friendship and inner turmoil. Like, it was just a beautiful story. I would highly recommend it. It obviously reads really fast too, so I say go out and check it out, especially if you think that middle grade doesn't have a lot of depth. I just felt like the story did have a little bit of everything, and you could relate to it even though the character's much younger than the reader. Like, as an adult, I could relate to those feelings of starting over and figuring out who you are and all that. So those are the books that I have read recently. Like I said, I'm going to be reading some more queer books coming up just because I'd gotten several from the library and I really want to finish them out. So they'll pop up in my recent reads. And if you have read any of these books, I'd love to talk about them in the comments. Thanks. Bye.